Reset your relationships in Between Us.
A very warm welcome into Between Us and 938 Live. I'm Angela Lim, and as always, discussing relationship issues that matter to you today with my guest Richard Ang, who's Master Trainer for the Heart of Success, focused on the family's work-life harmony program. And as predicted, today we'll be discussing how to manage your career and have great relationships with the family as well. Richard, welcome into the show.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for coming.
Let's talk a little bit about, the Heart of Success is the workshop that you're conducting at Focus on the Family.
That's
and
right.
A lot of us, have a mindset that, okay, maybe as young parents or when we just get married, we focus on our career and we try and make things comfortable for us financially before we start concentrating on quality time with the kids. What's your take on that?
I believe that's a good place to start. Most of us will, at one point or another, think about settling down and have a family after we graduate and all that. So maybe coming from a personal perspective, as an undergrad, I was thinking that, by the time I reach 35, I want to be a millionaire, and probably, have more time with my kids, when I make it, that kind of thing. So I set out with that idea until, when I start having my own family and the kids come along and all that. And guess what? Things change, right?
Yeah.
It's not as what you plan and what you envision, and it got messy, right? You've got your work to do, and you've got your kids to take care of. So really, at the end of it, I guess that meaning of success actually changes at some point in time, and in fact, it took me a while. Sad to say, if I put it that way, that it took me about maybe 6 to 7 years as a father before I realized that it is really not about making all that money, good as it is. I think that's something that as fathers we want to provide for our family as a breadwinner and as part of expressing ourselves at work, but it's really also about relationship. I remember the times when I come home, tired and, at work, and all my kids want is just that, can you just read a story for us, Little Mermaid? And in my mind I was thinking, gosh, I'm so tired, Little Mermaid again, can we do something else? Okay, Dad, how about Three Little Pigs, Three Little Pigs, or something like that. And, almost every night I'll be reading that, that story, and I was kind of like, oh gosh, this is really tiring being a father.
Yeah.
And those times when I'm so happy to leave it to my wife to take care of the kids and everything. But one day it kind of dawned upon me, so what am I working so hard for? I was on a flight back from somewhere, on this journey, and I was sitting there all by myself, and then just wondering, really, what am I working so hard for? And guess what? It's like epiphany. At that point in time, the picture of my two kids, I've got two boys, they just appear in front of me. And there and then, I somehow realized it's about my kids. It's about being with them at this point in time, when they are still young, and they're looking for a role model, a father, but the father is very busy with his work. And sometimes, back home, he doesn't have the energy to do more for them.
Yeah.
And kind of like, with that experience, I realized I need to change. I need to change some things in my life. I need to get back to what is really in my heart. The priorities that I value, and that was really about my family.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is that, you discovered it relatively early while your children were still quite young.
Yes,
what we're trying to get at today as well with this discussion is to kind of empower our listeners with the knowledge that sometimes when time has passed and if you've waited too long to spend time with your children, it might really be too late to establish a really strong relationship. But either way, things can be turned around. So we're going to hear a little bit more about that as well. Earlier you mentioned as well, Richard, the idea of the role of the father. In your mind, when you had that epiphany, what do you then, redefine your role to be as a dad? What do you think is really important?
Well, I guess with that in mind, my priorities change. So I kind of like reorganize the way that I do my work and spend my time with the kids. I kind of relook at the way that I want to spend time, and it's not just quality time. I guess your kids want quantity time as well.
Ah.
You know, I'm sure you've heard that, you know. Well, I do spend quality time with my kids, you know, and if I would ask a parent, and sometimes they say, oh, well, weekend I have McDonald's breakfast with my kids, and that's quality time. So I want to debunk that myth, because it is, if you ask your kids want all your time. All your time. It's quantity as well as quality time. So I realized that I want to do more than just spending time. I want to impart values to my kids. I want to be a role model for them. I want to be there to be an example for them, what a father should do. You know, a father being one that most important for me is to love their mother. That's my first premise. The father should do all he can to demonstrate love for the mother. And then in that, love for each one of them according to their love styles. We call that the love language, you know, in one of our program. And how to affirm, encourage, and build them, and give them that space to grow and be themselves and find things and discover and just learn the journey of life without over-pampering them, without, you know, giving them too much, but just being there to be, you know, a listening ear and maybe just helping hand whenever they need.
Yeah. It's really interesting, Richard, that you mentioned that the first and foremost thing that you have to do to show your children what a role model really is to love their mother. Because a lot of times when you think of a parent-child relationship, you're thinking it's about me and the kid. So, you know, can you maybe like enlighten us as well about why it's so important that, you know, if you're the wife as well, that you show and you demonstrate love and respect for your husband at the same time? Why is that relationship the most important thing at the start?
Well, oftentimes when we look at it, most children will love to celebrate Mother's Day. But when it comes to Father's Days, you know, the kids tend to forget about the father. You know, oftentimes I wonder what happened to the father. Doesn't the father count? But I'm sure the kids knows that the father counts. It's just that the way of demonstrating the affection for the father is not so obvious as for the mother. So why is that the case? Because mothers tends to be more tends to spend more time with the kids, tends to be more affirmative and a lot more empathy with what the kids are going on through. And of course, my kids would say, you know, Mom, you can be quite nagging kind of thing, but you know, they will probably say that in a very loving way. So I think from the kids' perspective, moms are very important. Mothers are very, very important for them. And to establish that relationship for a father to love the mother, I think that is foundational to parenting. Because the children want to see a wholesome family. I think the kids look at the parents and they're wondering, you know, should I love dad more or mom more? Should I love mom more or dad more? You know, and sometimes we get that kind of question. You know, hey guys, who do you love more? You know, mom or dad? You know, I don't think it's one or the other. But when the father loves the mother, the kids get a very secure feeling that this family is one where they enjoy, the relationship is safe, is secure, and this is where they grow. And they see the role model in their father, that, you know, the father is one who cares for the family by caring for the mother, by caring for the children. So
we're also going to talk a bit more, I suppose, going forward about showing affection, because for some, maybe for some dads, it's a little bit difficult to show emotion and to show that connection. So we're going to find out
one of them.
We're going to find out how Richard's actually transitioned from that into someone who is very close to these children. We'll hear more from Richard in just a bit. Richard Ang is my guest today. He's Master Trainer for the Heart of Success, focused on the family's work-life harmony program. Today we're talking about how to juggle a successful career and also have really good time with your family, spending quality time and establishing great relationships with them. Stay tuned.
Our soulful encounter is always just between us on 938 Live. It's always just between us, right?
Chatting today about balancing a career and at the same time, especially for dads, how to connect better with your children and your wife. Today my guest is Richard Ang, Master Trainer for the Heart of Success, which is focused on the family's work-life harmony program. And Richard, earlier mentioning that at the start it also wasn't easy for you to express your emotion, to express affection for your children. Tell us a bit about the process as you got a little bit more familiar with it.
I guess all our children are unique, you know. Especially in parenting, you probably have many so-called research and studies that tells you how you should relate to your kids. But I believe that every parent has their own unique way of relating to the kids. My two boys, my eldest son, Chen Yong Joshua, his love language is very much affirmation, encouragement. But that was not very obvious when he was young. When they were younger, both my wife Joyce and I, what we do a lot for them is to affirm them by giving them a hug. Especially my wife, before they go to bed and all that, spending time just reading to them before they fall to sleep and all that, and encouraging them for their studies, and helping them with all that. So that's the way we show our affection and, providing with all the nice things, etc. But as they grow older, I guess that it's not so much the hugging. I remember my eldest son kind of like freeze up when he was like, 12, 13 years old, and the mom wants to give him a hug, and he's kind of like, and you know that he's right there at the adolescent, the twins age.
Yes.
He realized that that kind of affection is not what you want from dad and mom. And I guess we change our style with our kids, the way we demonstrate affection. We learn their love language. Their styles, my eldest son is very much into affirmation, encouragement, etc. So we give him a lot of that, just to encourage him, just to give him that assurance that we back him up, and whenever he needs the support, dad is there, mom is there. My youngest son, Qianhua Gabriel, tends to a little bit more he needs a little bit more quality time from us, time to just sit with him, just being there. Just being there. Of course, the affirmation part, etc. I guess guys, we need a lot of those affirmation. Sometimes I wish I have a daughter, so that I can tell the difference. But well, I guess I'll practice the love language with my wife. And for my wife, it's very much a love language of service. So if I do the house chores for her, if I, just help out with the housework and all that, washing dishes, and just surprise her by doing all these things for her. She'll be very delighted, So I guess it grows and changes as the children grows as well.
Yeah. It helps to also over time, kind of be observant and to kind of know, what's going on, what's the best way to communicate love and affection.
Exactly.
We're also going to find out a bit more of, when things get a little bit more hectic, when work starts, work pressure starts piling up.
Yeah.
How do you find, I guess, the resources, the emotional strength, and I guess the energy really to just be there for your family as well, especially through teenage years, which might be quite a turbulent time. We're going to find out a bit more about that from my guest today, Richard Ang. He's master trainer for the Heart of Success, which is focused on the family's work-life harmony program. This conversation will continue after headline news and sports. Stay tuned.
Man is a knot into which relationships are tied, but nothing comes between us. On 938 Live. It's always just between us, right?
Thanks for staying tuned to Between Us and 938 Live. Today we're talking a bit more about how to balance a career and chasing, I guess, the goals at the workplace with having great relationships at home as well. My guest today is Richard Ang. He's master trainer for the Heart of Success, which is focused on the family's work-life harmony program. Now, Richard, we've been talking so far about, I guess, kind of reading the love languages of your children so you can show affection. Not all kids want the parents to hug them or to tell them nice things. Yeah. So as we move, into the teenage years, things, of course, expectations of their parents start to change. Right. For many confused listeners out there who are thinking, how do I become a good role model for a teenager now, since they expect different things? They're seeing the world in a different way. What was your experience with your two sons?
I'm glad you asked that question, because my eldest son just celebrated his 21st birthday. And, he said to me, Dad, I just want to tell you something. When we were younger, you were very strict with us, there was affection and all that, but you were very strict with us until we were age 10. And when we were, twins, you became a friend to us. You became a mentor. You became a leader. We see so much of leadership in you, and you talk about your work. You talk about your struggles at work. You talk about life. Indirectly, you show us and taught us through your stories, And now that we are older, you are our friend, and so instead that I really appreciate that, and that was his 21st birthday's present to me. I was thinking, get him a present kind of thing, but I was kind of like, wow. So I said to him, son, would you be that kind of father to your kids next time? learning how to adapt to the growing years. You know, I've known some friends who are fathers, and they've never let go of that disciplining part of them.
Yeah.
You know, they feel that they have to be there all the time for their kids. They got to tell the kids what to do. This is the way to do it. This is how you solve a problem. Come on, get on with life. You know, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm a more laissez-faire type of fathering, you know. I don't think that works for everybody. I wouldn't recommend that because, again, you know, every parents are unique, with your kids are unique. But I believe that my style works very well with my children. I give them the space. I give them the sense of respect and the sense of freedom to discover for themselves, to choose and to make choices, you know, and not to shield them from choices. Obviously, there are bad choices, and that is absolutely no kind of thing.
Yeah.
But choices in life that, you know, they have to deal with so that they can be more resilient. So they grow up, I guess, you know, learning how to be more independent, knowing that if I do need support and I do need help, dad and mom is always there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting you mentioned this because, you know, you mentioned the part about, you know, sharing your struggles with your children as well. A lot of times, you know, especially for dads maybe, you feel the need to be the strong one, the person who's always fine.
Yes.
And, you know, what do you think is useful about sharing sometimes your mistakes, you know, being able to humble yourself sometimes and admit that you've been wrong and things that you've done were maybe not the best decisions. How does that help your children respect you?
Well, I like what you said about humbling yourself and, you know, learning how to go to your kids. I remember when, you know, my kids were very young, and I did something that was really, you know, as a parent, you know, sometimes you get that you know, you get out of yourself at sometimes with certain things that your kid do, and you just get really mad at them, and then, you know, you wish they hadn't done that, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I remember, you know, I took it out on my kid, and it was really very, very bad because I let that anger got the better of me, and so, you know, the rod was the answer for that infraction or whatever you call that at that point in time. I still remember it. But thankfully, my son forgotten all about it. You know, recently I checked with him, and he forgotten. I was so glad he forgot about it. But what happened was that, you know, after I cooled down, and I thought to myself, hey, why did I did that? You know, what did I do? What I did? And it was really out of a sense of wanting my son to grow up right, you know, and that sense of anger that comes with it. But it was the wrong way to discipline. It was punishment. It wasn't disciplining with love. My son learned pain. He didn't learn any lesson out of that, you know. So, you know, when I cooled down, it was the next day, and I went to my son and I said, son, I'm sorry. Dad have to apologize because, you know, what you did was wrong, but what I did was wrong as well. I should not have done what I did. And that was, you know, that was the end of the matter, so-called, for you know, using the rod and the cane the way that I did. And subsequently I learned how to manage my own self first before, you know, I manage my children. And so I guess that helps a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
it takes a big person, I suppose. It's really not easy, especially as a parent, as an authority figure, and your child is young, to ask a younger person for forgiveness. You know, it takes a little bit of putting down your pride and sometimes just acknowledging that you're wrong, and even now sharing it on national radio. But you know, that's the point, because you teach a child so many more values. And I have, you know, friends who tell me that some things that their parents did in a fit of anger when they were young still haunt them every day, and their parents never.
And they remember it, right? They remember it to this day.
They're still traumatized by it, and on some level, you know, it just takes an apology for the child to move on and be able to forget about something, you know, quite devastating at that point of time. So saying sorry really helps earn respect with teenagers as well. We're going to hear a little bit more about Richard's course that he conducts at Focus on the Family. It's called Work-Life Harmony Program. It's the heart of success. We're going to hear a bit more about what they do there and how you can benefit from that as well if you'd like to find out more about how to balance your relationships and a career. Stay tuned here on Between Us and 938 Live. Richard Ang is my guest today from Focus on the Family.
Reset your relationships in Between Us. Our soulful encounter is always just between us on 938 Live.
Chatting today with Richard Ang, and my guest today is a master trainer for the Heart of Success in the Focus on the Family's Work-Life Harmony program. And Richard, tell us a bit about some of the questions or some of the common issues that parents who come forward into the program tend to ask you about. Anything that you can share with us, maybe?
Well, the Heart of Success is really about work-life harmony. For people who come to the course, I guess the big question they have in mind is, so how do you balance? That's the word they'll use. How do you balance work and life? I tend to not to use that word balance, because that gives you a sense of then how do I manage to kind of like have the equilibrium. But life is not that neat and tidy. We know that life is very messy. And today, we use more of the word called work-life integration or harmony. And in fact, we use flexible work today, So that, I think, is what we are getting into. In fact, the younger generation today do look forward to a better quality of life, just besides work. Per se, unlike the older generation, the Gen X, and the traditionalists, the baby boomers like us. I think this shift is going to take place, and there needs to be a shift in mindset as well. It's not really about balancing; it's about prioritizing. It's about you. It's about your values. It's about your dreams. So in this course, we actually started with there are 7 principles or 7 laws of it. The first law or first principle, we said, don't be money rich and time poor. Today we can provide so much for our kids, the vacations, the McDonald's, and you tell my kids, guys, there were times in the past when when we were younger, when my dad was younger, we don't have color TV, we have black and white, and they go, oh, really? Black and white?
They can't imagine what that would be.
Black and white. And to get a McDonald's, you got to save up for that kind of stuff. But hey, you guys can do that almost every day.
Oh, it's their daily meal.
It's a daily meal, It's a must-have thingy nowadays. Times have changed for you guys. But yet, I guess the thing about us wanting to provide for our kids is really great. I think every parent wants to do the best for their kids. But, our life is so finite. If you think about it, let's say if the technology allows us to live to maybe a century, 100 years old, let's say, if you just translate that into months, you only have 1,200 months. Would that be true? If you put that into months, it's kind of like scary, isn't it? It's only 1,200 months. I mean, if you put it at 80 years, you only got 900 plus to 1,000 months. And that's not a lot of time. But your kids have only about a quarter of that time with you before they hit 21 and they're out on the world on their own, and they should start their own family, their own work, etc. So you have a limited amount of time, and most of the time when we hit the peak of our career at 30, I think nowadays it's even younger, right? At 30, 35, your kids need most of your time. So there you are, you face the challenge of wanting to get up on your career ladder, but at the same time to have time for your kids. So how do you balance that? That's the question that usually we struggle with.
That really puts things into perspective, because we don't really usually think of it this rationally sometimes. That you only have 20 years with your children, essentially, of those 20 years, most of the time you're struggling to make sure that you're doing well in your career.
That's right.
So I guess maybe also, Richard, on a final note, based on your interactions with people at the workshops, based on your own personal experience as a dad, juggling work with your family life, what would you say, are the simple things that our listeners can start doing, just to start creating more time, more quality time and quantity time as well with the family?
I would say just one word: listen. Take time to listen to your children. Listen to what they want to say. Don't judge them for what they are saying. Just spend time, with an open heart and with an open mind. Encourage them to talk about their dreams, about their lives. If I were to do, parents again, and all of us at one time, it's our rehearsal and it's also our final thingy about, until we become grandfather and we are father all over again, right? It's really about listening. I think to me, if I were to do everything again, I wish I had spent more time just listening to my kids rather than telling them what I want and what I want them to do, etc. Especially in their teen years. I guess a lot of things, and even now my kids are older, they want to to express themselves, but they're not sure whether dad and mom will, accept what they're saying, or will they be judged by mom and dad standard kind of thing. So I guess that's what I would do.
Definitely a very valuable, I think, thing to remember for all parents, no matter what age your children are, especially in the teenage years. Just listen, be there for them, take the quality time and quantity time as well, as you were saying, Richard. Well, today we've been chatting with Richard Ang, who's Master Trainer for the Heart of Success, Focus on the Family's Work-Life Harmony program. If you'd like to find out more about Richard's advice, and also a little bit more if you want to learn about how to balance work and your family life, you can head on down to Focus on the Family's website. It's www.family.org.sg. www.family.org.sg. Richard, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much.
Man is a knot into which relationships are tied, but nothing comes between us. On 938 Live.